Hello friends, it's Miss Natalie here, and I have another drawing exercise for you. We are going to be doing a contour line drawing focusing on proportion. Now, a contour line drawing is a drawing of the outline of an object where you're just focused on line, you're not going to add any shading. Don't worry about value, just the lines. And we're going to use the principle of proportion to help us to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be in our drawing. I'm going to start out, I'm drawing these lovely earbuds here, and I'm going to start out focusing on this particular bud. And notice that the shape is kind of a circle that is flattened at one end. Looking at the proportion of that shape there. All right, and I'm not worried that it's kind of sketchy right now. I'm going to start out sketching and then I will clean up my lines. Now I'm going to actually use my finger on the object itself to measure to make sure that, see, okay, that's the width, that's the length. So it is about the same width and length. So I'm going to do the same thing with my drawing, making sure I've got about the same shape. I can look and see, okay, it starts, this is where the, oops, that's where the hole is right up there. So it's a little flat and that would go straight down here. So yeah, and it curves out like that. So I'm just kind of checking one piece against the other to make sure I have the right size and shape. And there's a little curve here and a little kind of break before the next piece. And the next piece comes to here and then kind of goes out a little bit. And this size is about a little bit, not quite as big as the whole one. In fact, that part, the black part, is about the size of the whole of the rubber part. So that would be there. So this one goes in, and it goes in to about where that hole is at the top. So I can say, okay, this is where my line is. And if I went straight down, that would be where that part went in. If I went straight down here, that's where that part comes in. And I can make this. And I remember this has the same curve as that. So I can check those curves against each other. And this actually has a little bit of a curve too. And then this seems to go straight down, and it is about the size of that there. And then there's a little bit, a rounded bit at the bottom that I can eyeball the proportion a little bit with that. And I've got that bud part of my earbuds. Then I'm going to focus on the black part that sticks out, and I can see that it sticks out farther than this. And how much does it stick out? It's about the same length as this part. So if I make it, but it's, let's see, it's up from there to about there on that. I feel like I might have made that the wrong shape. Okay, change that shape. That's about that length. Again, I'm constantly measuring the proportion of one thing against the other. Now I can see that the angle of the wire is the same that this whole earbud's kind of at. So I can keep that angle going there, and it goes straight. And I'm not going to do all of the wires because I'm really focusing on this part of the earbuds. But I can see that it crosses over there. How many earbuds is that? 1.5. So like 1.5 of these. 1.5 is where it crosses over. So that is probably, let's see, maybe. All right. Sometimes you just kind of have to eyeball it. You get a lot better at eyeballing the more you practice more you practice measuring proportions, the better you are at guessing proportions. I'm going to stop here, and I'm going to go back to this earbud there because I'm going to rearrange that just a little bit. I can see that this black part starts the same level where the silver part ends. So I could go straight across here, and they are about that much apart from each other. So the black part starts right about there. And then the silver bit on this one is here, and it's the same size as that one, so I can use that to measure, which is nice. It's not always the case. Sometimes you have serious like foreshortening where two parts of the same thing that should be the same look very different because of the angle that they're at, and you really have to measure what you can actually see, not what you know. You're like, oh, well, those are the same size. Yes, but they don't look that way from your perspective. So remember, drawing is about seeing what's actually there, not what you think is there. Seeing what you can actually, drawing what you actually see, not what you know about the subject. Okay, so I may have made this curve too much, but I don't care. There's a little bit of artistic license going on. Okay, so this part on this one is a little, you don't see as much as that part, so that's going to be a whole lot shorter. And I'm going to go, it's going to go straight into this part here much more. And I got to remember that my angle is the other way on this one. And then I've got my earbud, which, yeah, is about this size, because I can actually see the hole in this one, so I'm going to want to put that at the end. Make sure I am measuring the shape with my eyes, comparing one piece to another. Might be hard for you to see because of my lighting and the shadows, but that is what I'm doing. Okay, so I've got my two earbuds. I know I have a lot of empty space here, but this is what I'm really focusing on. I would not use this as a composition because I put everything like too far up and too far to the left, but as an exercise, it's fine. I can like cut this and say, okay, it goes right there. So the next thing I would do if I was going to focus on making this a contour line drawing, I think I'll make, let's see, I'll do that there. I'll pretend I'm going to cut it here and there so that it's like that. Okay, so what I would do is I would then go back with my pencil and go darker on the lines and clean up the sketch marks. And I would also go back and put in, say, some reflections in the silver part to show where the light is bouncing off. And I would take the darker parts and I would make those lines thicker and darker by the shadows, and then thinner and lighter where it isn't. And that actually, believe it or not, that will make your form look three-dimensional even without any value. Just that thickening lines in some places and making them thinner in others. You can see I already have a sense of shadow now with that. I tend to like to do contour line drawings in pen or marker, just because sometimes with pencil it's hard for me to get precision. You could probably use a really nice mechanical pencil to do a contour drawing, and that would be great. There's a technique that I am not going to make you do, called a blind contour drawing. But it's a great exercise, and it really trains your brain and your eye to look at things. When you do a blind contour drawing, you are going to draw something with a contour line without looking at your paper. So your eyes are on the object that you are drawing the entire time, and what you're trying to do is move your eyes on the object and your hand on the paper at the same speed. And it is really hard, or at least I found it very difficult. So if you want to try that out, go for it. I would be very impressed. All right, so this is kind of where I'm going to leave you. And hopefully you've learned something from this exercise, and now you can go make art.